uncomfortable. Hi, everybody. We're back. We are about to start episode 3, titled The Secret. I hope you're all tuning in. Is it live? Are we live? I have no idea. But I'll find out in a couple seconds.
Oh, he went healthy today.
Did you... Let's see. I don't know if we're live yet. It doesn't say we're live. Oh yeah, there we are. Here we are. Okay, we're about to start episode 3.
What a story. It's so wild it must not be true. That's the first thing people think. Oh, come on. That can't be true. It's 20 years ago. Cold case 20-year-old murders don't get solved.
We're in Tampa, Florida.
You know, Carol Baskin, who was Carol Lewis at the time, was married to Don.
But I did see Don Lewis about maybe a month or so before he disappeared, and he did mention to me that he felt his life was in danger.
There is so many strange twists in that story. You would have to write books and volumes of the stuff that went wrong there, the lies that are there. All the circumstantial evidence, somebody did something to Don. There's a lot of stories about Carol having some finger in it, but nobody can prove it.
I really believe that everything happens for a reason. Everything is unfolding the way that it has to for us to become our highest possible self. I don't regret any of what I have lived through. I wouldn't be standing here today doing what I'm doing if it hadn't been for all of those things that have happened over the course of my life.
The last day that I saw Don, he told me that he was done, that he was divorcing her, that she was one of the worst people he'd ever met in his life, and she was very dangerous.
He did come along and say for us to stay away from her. He was afraid of her. We didn't know exactly why.
He indicated to me that he was going to tell Carol that he wanted a divorce. Never saw him again.
Hi, Brandon.
I was the supervisor in charge of the homicide section of the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office in Tampa, Florida, which also works adult missing persons. In the case of Don Lewis, the call came in as a typical missing adult. Initially on a missing person investigation, you just think, well, things are going to work out. Maybe this guy just went somewhere and didn't touch base. However, I would say within the first week or two, the detectives were starting to look at the possibility that we had foul play or something that was unexplainable at that point in time.
Just pay to have buckets withdrawn so they can't get out. We've got 4 tickets we're going to feed.
I met Don in January of 1981. So I was 21 I met him.
And he was how old?
He was 22 years my senior, so
Okay.
he was 42.
Yeah.
You have to understand that Don Lewis was married with kids, but apparently he was coming down, I think it was Nebraska. And late one night he seen this young girl walking down the street crying.
This is the first time I've ever seen it
to
happen.
see if he could help her.
Like,
I had been in a fight with my first husband
But this is the first time they use
I actually had to throw
non-documentary
a
stuff.
potato across the
You
kitchen
didn't archive
into the
it,
dining room
interviews.
at him in order to get out the door. I deal with stress, I think, the same way cats do. I just pace and pace and pace and pace. And I remember Don pulls around
Recreation
and he asked me
driver.
if I would get in the car, and I told him no. Pulls around again. I think it was on the third time he pulled around, and he had a gun sitting on the front seat of his car. And he said, "You can hold this gun on me. I just need somebody to talk to." So I picked up the gun, held it on him. We drove around town, and he talked.
Casual bitch.
And I ended up spending the night with him.
That's how I have to talk to
Don
you.
Lewis deserted basically his wife and
Oh,
kids
didn't I?
because he was in love with the younger blonde woman, known as Carol.
He told me that he had met her. I was speechless. I adored him. I told him that I loved him till the day I died. But it was over. He used to call her Angel. And I said, well, she's an angel sent straight from hell, and one day you'll find out.
Well, shit.
Huh?
Well, shit.
At first, it seemed like they were really gonna make it. I liked Carol. I mean, I really did like Carol. But Don was not an easy man.
Don was a millionaire. He was a
Oh
multi-millionaire.
yeah, she married him. Even the best cover
And
up.
he didn't like
O.J.
her
Simpson
his
himself said that
She was very
she did it.
ambitious. She wanted to go somewhere and meet somebody, and she didn't want to stay walking
I
down
want
the
those
street
glasses.
in the middle of the night.
You look so
I've got her
good
diary.
in that. We should get someone
I've got
that.
it all.
Big circles.
Good evening, world.
Half her
Welcome
fucking
to Saga
face.
6 of the Carol story. Okay, well, tonight, we just happened to have gotten in the mail today Carol's diary. He said he wanted to be loved for the man he was inside, and that women knew how rich he was. He would never know if they loved him for his money.
Don started out.
Why was he driving around in a pickup truck if he was a millionaire?
You could not have looked at Don and even had an inkling that he had amassed the wealth that he
Feel
had.
normal?
You never saw Don dressed up. He had his blue jeans and his t-shirt. But he carried a $500 bill around in his pocket. Just because he could.
I do that too.
We said he had a
If
green
there was
thumb,
such a thing.
a green thumb for money, because anything he touched practically, he made money on.
I worked for Don Lewis for 10, 15 years, but knew him much longer than that. And you'd have to know Don to know his properties. He liked to hide his stuff, like he would hide money, bury money, hide gold bars, bury the gold bars. Don Lewis didn't want people knowing what he had and what he was worth. But I'm gonna say Don Lewis was probably worth 20 million, maybe a little more.
The fuck?
I think it was closer to $7 to $7.5 million is what he was worth.
I don't think anybody really knew that, but I know at least 5 million, if not 10 million. I knew him as his lawyer. I knew what he was doing. I knew a lot of what he was doing.
Don had money when he met Carol. Carol pretty much had nothing. He had something she didn't.
Oh,
A penis.
that gold digging bitch.
Well, now she has her cats.
My parents were very plain folk. We usually lived in mobile homes. I never really got how poor we were until I was a teenager.
Look at her hair.
I had been raped at knife point by 3 men that lived across the street from me when I was 14. In my family, they were fundamental Christians that believed if a woman was involved in something like that, she must have been asking for it in some way. I left home at the age of 15. I got married to Michael when I was 17. He was was Jamie's father, and he was extremely abusive. But the idea of leaving and having to raise a child on my own was terrifying.
Did she mention how she had a kid
20
before?
when I met Don, and 24 before I left my husband.
I don't remember.
Don had a fascination with animals, so we were a great team.
He was more of an animal collector, I think. He definitely liked the idea of having a lot of different kinds of animals.
Murdoch.
He gets along with the rest of the cats real good out here, though he just don't like kids.
They started out by going
Whoa.
to the exotic animal auction.
That bird.
We started in 1992 with the purchase of a bobcat who was going to be killed by taxidermists at an auction. The following year, we bought 56 bobcats and lynx from a fur farm. The next year, 28 bobcats and lynx. The following year, 22 more bobcats and lynx. And by the time we did that, there were no more fur farms in the U.S. that were killing bobcats and lynx.
It's called Wildlife on Easy Street. Guests tour the sanctuary, take tons of pictures, and even help feed the cats.
When they started Wildlife on Easy Street, they bought, sold, bred big cats for years.
Now, I would like to remind you, Carol, that you are the one who spent $94,000 to buy animals to fill your so-called sanctuary. You still have them there at your facility. You're still tagging them as rescues, and you're still frauding the public.
What a baller.
I believe that I sold Don and Carol Lewis their very first tiger in
He looks
1985.
so dumb.
They flew their private plane up to Shelbyville, and that's how I met them. And they
Oh, look at his little braid and his beard.
I know it's gross.
Scrappy was his name. He was an excellent little tiger.
He looks like a fucking troll doll.
It looks like Mr. Sandman.
This is the VHS that she made back in the day. The last time I probably seen it was 1996. You'll get a kick out of it, I'm sure.
Our names are Don and Carol Lewis. We have really enjoyed our exotics. Throughout this tape, we'll show you how we take them from the mother.
Oh my gosh, they're so cute when they're small!
People.
She had called me up and asked about raising baby animals, said she was going to do a how-to video.
They have to be taken this young from the mother in order to make.
Is that the actual music that's in the thing?
A lot of people don't believe that it's
The documentary?
No, like in her video.
You know, back in
Or is
the
it that
early
documentary?
90s, she bred and sold cats. And it's so funny because the very people that are against breeding used to do the same thing.
I think you'll see throughout this tape that they are very happy. And they're so much fun.
Okay, now we're gonna jump around because I'm sure you don't want to hear about all the cats they bought, all the kittens they bred, and how many died because they didn't have any clue what the hell they were doing.
I think that Carol did start feeling bad about selling the animals and maybe breeding them and crossbreeding them.
So she was doing all that shit.
Carol wanted the animals just to collect and love. And he looked at it more as a business.
Don and I had differing feelings about conservation and breeding. He loved cubs. He loved breeding cats. He would go down to Costa Rica once a month, and every time he was in Costa Rica,
My
I'd
dad
have to
watched
get out
it,
here and I
can't
would
say.
neuter and spay as many cats as fast as I could.
The attraction for Don in Costa Rica was the lack of regulations. You know, if they can have the cats down there, he would have been free to breed them.
Do you think that she's passing the buck to him because he's dead?
Carol wanted to do?
Do you think she was like
Apparently not.
a
They were
willing
arguing about
participant
it.
in
She
the
didn't
breeding of
want
the
to
animals?
take the cats and go.
And now that he's dead?
Still is.
That is when we learned that they weren't getting along real good. He also had a girlfriend in Costa Rica.
So I think one of their main problems was
I don't think she's
she
trying to
couldn't
blame
even
him for
run
shit. She
in
killed
his
him for
life.
his money. Now
I
she can
think she
take care of her
thinks
No.
sanctuary.
No, I know, but that's not. I mean, like,
She thought she was.
Do you think that,
pretty
like, in the
enough,
interview, like, she's
young
talking
enough
about him,
that
it was all
she
his
would be
fault
all
that
he needed.
they were breeding?
And
Do
that
you think
was
that she's,
never
like,
going to
you
happen.
passing the buck? Like, do you think that she would not just say,
They
yeah, I
did.
did it, now I'm not doing it, that's why I,
suspected
like,
it. I
take
never
care of the
saw it
cats
in
now?
person, but I've heard
She
enough
didn't
to
talk
to
about
say
any of
that
that.
that's probably
Yeah, she did.
true.
She said that she wanted to.
He liked
She said that
Lakers, I'm sure.
he
I would
did all
say
that
with
stuff.
2 or 3 different
When they accused her, they went back to her.
Carol's not saying that his
Dawn was
sisters or whatever
17
and them
and
are
I
saying
was
that.
14
Carol didn't say
when
any
we
of
got
that.
married.
Yeah, no.
She's talking
My
about being
mom had
raped and
signed
blah
the
blah
papers
blah and
and
all
so
her past,
did
but
his
not
mother because he was too young.
anything about the cats.
Life was good.
Yeah, she was saying that he was the one who
only
did
thing
it. That's what I'm
that
asking.
went wrong was when someone would call
No.
me and say, I seen Dawn with
She's
so
not
and so.
passing shit on because
That
she's
was a
still
problem
currently
with him.
doing it.
Because
She's not breeding them. That's what she's talking about, though.
There's names,
That's what I'm
you know,
talking about.
sets
That's what they were
all
saying. She used to breed them and
If
sell
my
them,
dad had
and she was saying that
anything,
he
that
was the
would've
reason they
been
did
it.
that. And now she just has a cat
And
sanctuary.
you don't think she's not doing it anymore.
She's not breeding and selling them. No,
I've asked forever.
that's the reason why she has a sanctuary. That's the point of
He's all I've never known.
her battling
He's the
him
only man
and
I've
the
ever
other
loved.
guys.
I hope Jamie never finds herself in such a sick and perverted relationship.
At the end, I know that there was talk of divorce.
I think he's preparing his estate and assets in a way that he could get a divorce without losing everything. And I think he thought she was there solely for the purpose of getting his money. And that was what he was trying to protect.
If Don Lewis had gotten the divorce with Carol, the way Don
But
would
she's
have
not
worked,
even-
she would have been left with really nothing.
She's not even
She would
really
have lost the
rescuing
cats.
them.
She would have lost everything
She's
down
buying
to
them
the
from
house and
places.
the car. Would have been a devastating blow.
But she, what do you mean she's not rescuing them?
If there was a rescue, wouldn't they be free? Like, why is she paying?
She can't rehabilitate them because they're
by himself and
used
brought
to
him
human
to this
interaction.
marriage by himself. I wish there was some way out for me.
No, why is she
I'd
buying
just
the
find a way out.
cats?
Wouldn't you?
From the people that she's the sanctuary. The people that have the cats, she used to buy them. She doesn't buy them anymore. She takes the cats that people can't pay.
Dawn
That's the
started
point of the
looking a
sanctuary.
little bit funny.
Well, she
And then
started
one
out
day
buying.
he came in and
Yeah.
he brought
To
me a
rescue
piece of
them.
paper.
It's the same
It was
shit.
in an envelope.
No, it wasn't. That
Said,
wasn't
"Here,
how they
you
started.
can
That's
take
what she
this
was
home,
talking
you
about in
can
the
keep it.
interview.
If anything
When she was
happens,
buying them
you
was so they weren't being killed
He'd
for
given
fur.
me a copy.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
rescuing them, but she was still paying for them.
Yeah, but that's not that's not how it started. She was a collector
This is the
before.
second time Carol
She's
has
still
gotten
collecting
angry and
I know,
mad
but she's doing it under the guise
to
of
kill me. Carol
having
and
the
I got
sanctuary.
into a big fuss and she ordered me out of the house or she would kill me. She has a .45 revolver and she took my .357 and hid it. Daddy never really involved the law in anything. It was just something that he resisted. For him to go down there and write that out and present it before a judge was major in my eyes. That is not something he would do unless he was at his wit's end with how to protect himself. But he was denied protection.
It doesn't show stalking, it doesn't show battery, it doesn't show anything. It shows a verbal argument. And that's not enough to get an injunction.
And so that's why you think it was denied.
That's why I know it was denied.
But obviously,
That was dead on arrival. What raised my eyebrows is she threatened to kill me.
that's not enough to get it.
Nope. There's free speech. There's free speech. We don't restrain free speech in this country. We punish it after it's done.
I'm sure in the judge's eyes it was hearsay, but that happened in June and he disappeared in August.
A local millionaire vanishes without a trace, but did he simply walk away? Or did something more ominous happen to him? I never threatened him.
His wife, Carol Lewis, says he was planning to transport cars to Costa Rica.
That'd be like the best way to be a fucking serial killer.
Because he was leaving earlier.
It's cat porn.
And that was the last thing that he said to me.
The last thing he said to me was that he needed me to have Kenny get a truck ready because he was going early, he said. the next day to Costa Rica. And that was the last I saw of him. So
Costa Rica's a cat?
He was building this cage, and Don
It
started
was
to
Carol
tell me
that said
something.
that.
He said,
You're going
"Kenny,
early.
if I can pull this off, it will be the slickest thing I ever did in my life."
I think you just solved the mystery.
And I know that there was more to follow. Like he didn't finish what he was saying, and he left with a phone call, and he left out. I never got to see him again after that. That was the last thing that Don Lewis ever said to me, was if I can pull this off, it will be the slickest thing I ever did in my life.
He was shipping some cars down to Costa Rica. Everything had to be down in Miami Monday morning. And I had to get all the titles to the cars and stuff ready. But I needed him to tell me some things. I kept waiting for him to call me. He didn't call me. I started calling him. Didn't answer the phone. This continued all through Saturday, all through Sunday. I got no answer. I finally got a hold of Carol. She says, "Do you think I should call the police?" And I said, "Do you think?"
Why the fuck wouldn't she call the police?
Jack Don Lewis.
Because he was.
last
Oh,
seen
I don't know if the car's.
August the
I don't know if
18th. He was reported missing on the 19th by his wife at about 1:30 in the afternoon. The detectives walked the property and drove the property. Now, you talk about 40 acres. Apparently, there was nothing there that suggested that they should pursue that area any further.
They're not
There
gonna
were
search
aerial
like every
searches
inch of it
done.
at all.
We found nothing. Then after 3 or 4 days, we found his van abandoned at an airport.
With the keys still in it, his briefcase in it, but no Don Lewis.
It didn't make sense. Like with what he said to me, if you was truly wanting to disappear and nobody
And
know where
Carol's
you was
like,
at,
"Oh shit,
would
his
you
van,
leave your
so yeah,
van
better
where
go
you
leave
got
it at
in a
the
plane to
fucking
take off?
airport."
You wouldn't want nobody to know you was in the plane, because that's now a clue.
Do you think it was planted? I think someone else drove the van there. I don't know if it was planted there.
I think the police did a horrible job at the investigation side of it. The cops never looked at the van when it was at the airport, and they let them bring that van back to Easy Street. And it was there for a couple of days before the cops come to look at the van, to even look in the van. A couple of days that van sat there.
They came and spoke with me because they found my fingerprints inside of his van. 4 days before he disappeared, he dropped his van off for me to do some work to it. But he tried to talk me into going to Costa Rica. He said, "Come on and go to Costa Rica with me."
Why did you want to go to Costa Rica so badly?
He liked it down there.
All of a sudden, 2 years later, he
The
shows up to Costa
long-term
Rica.
plan, according to the investigation, was that he would eventually move the Big Cat Rescue, or Wildlife on Easy Street as it was known then, down to the Costa Rica area.
But like, even if she didn't murder
We
him,
actually
why
sent
would he just
myself
want to
and another
vanish?
detective and did multiple
Because it
interviews
was
down
money?
in Costa Rica. We spent
Tax
about
evasion?
4 or 5 days in the area to try and determine if there was any link there at all.
And how would he get to Costa Rica?
He flew commercial out of Miami.
But Don did fly a lot of airplanes. He owned, I don't know how many airplanes he owned.
Oh, that's part of it. He flew his own fucking.
But all of his planes were
Bermuda
small.
Triangle.
And you could not fly those things.
It's impossible with the size and types of planes that Don had that I know of, that he could nonstop go from here to Costa Rica. You'd have to make 4 fuel stops. It's just not in the cards.
I don't believe that Jack Don Lewis flew to Costa Rica. There's nothing at all to indicate that Don
Why are you typing
left his
that?
van
Why don't you
there
just
and
say
got in a
it?
plane and crashed it somewhere. There was no record of any takeoff of an airplane. There was no flight file. Nothing.
Don lost his pilot's license the day after he got it, so he never flew legitimately again. Every flight he ever did after that, and there were a lot of them, he was flying illegally. So no, he wasn't reporting. He would go down over the Gulf of Mexico, down underneath the level where radar picks you up.
My understanding was he went to evaluate some new plane that was for sale. I was told that he was pushed out of the plane, out of the door, 50 feet over the Gulf, way out.
If he had any kind of an accident out over the Gulf, we never would have found anything. He had had several plane crashes and had really damaged himself in one of them. And I don't think he was ever completely right after that last crash. I was seeing behavior in him that just didn't make any sense. Like, he could remember things from way back when he was a kid, but he couldn't remember where he was for the last 5 minutes. And one of our volunteers came to me and said that that looked like Alzheimer's to him. Maybe he doesn't know who he is. Maybe he doesn't know where to call from.
That's all bull. I don't believe a word about dementia or forgetfulness or any of that crap.
Find this guy! I know where I am!
Why? He knew all that. That's not a problem.
That's your alibi.
He was an unusual man.
The eccentric's a good word to use.
Carol's smart. She's setting the stage for, he just up and disappeared. We don't know what the hell happened. She spent, I'm sure, a lot of time setting the stage for the dementia and the forgetfulness.
According to diary entries allegedly written by Carol, she was feeling boxed in by Don's notorious cheating.
It's no use to leave him. I wish there was some way out for me.
Police combed the area, but after a year and a half of investigating numerous theories, police still have no suspects.
Somebody, sometime, someplace, somewhere, somehow wanted to be rid of Don Lewis. And apparently they got their way. My understanding was that he was killed. Why? Won't go there.
That goddamn bitch.
Here's him.
Ah! Back to kill him, that line.
I need my clapper.
Costa
I need my
Rica.
clapper, Mark. What are you doing?
Take two.
Do you think that's his voice? We need to know.
I know, I hope it. I think it's not.
But best thing he's done, it's worth just bringing up the music video Here Kitty Kitty about Carol killing her husband. And a look-alike Carol walking along with him while he's singing.
I thought
Keith's
that was
body
Carol.
part.
I know! I was like, how the fuck did he get Carol?
Shit. You haven't seen Here Kitty Kitty, you don't know what you're missing.
Joe had everyone convinced she murdered her husband.
Pause it,
And we
let's
were
go watch
all
Here
with it.
Kitty
And
Kitty.
me, as a amateur producer, I was, yeah, man, roll the cameras, you know?
So the whole world's wondering, would you actually grind your husband up, feed him to the tigers so there's no evidence? I'm gonna show you some stuff that will put that right in your head.
That does so much
People
of the
want
Carol.
to believe something that's just totally outlandish, and so it has been a problem.
I wonder how long it took them to find somebody that would like
These
it.
tigers
I know, right?
have such an acidic stomach that when you feed them a whole turkey, there's no bones that come out. Okay, it's gone.
Yeah, big cats and dogs
Is
are
there any
made
chance
to
that Don had been killed
digest
by one of
bones
his
like
cats?
that.
No,
Why?
didn't happen. There'd be a body, there'd be blood, there'd be this, there'd be that. No. There wasn't a cat out there that could eat 100 pounds of flesh.
Yeah, she had more than one cat.
Something.
His own kids demanded that they DNA test the meat grinder. Sheriff's office wouldn't do it.
We had a meat grinder. If you've ever seen a butcher boy, meat grinder. It's about that big around. And that became like this wholly exciting thing that I ran him through that grinder, and it's like I couldn't run his hand through the grinder, much less his body.
Yeah, you can run it. People get
I mean,
their
there's
hands
another
cut
theory
out,
that
mangled
one
up
of
from
the
those things
buildings
all
they
the time.
built, there's a septic tank underneath it that he was put in that.
We can
Wow.
never get the law to go in there and dig up that septic tank. I promise you, he's underneath that damn thing. Hey, Carol. Voice from your past. Give me the find out from under the septic tank.
It was in the ground. It was operational. Judy had moved into the property before Don ever disappeared. So how would I have been putting him in the septic tank?
Do you think Don died in the Bermuda Triangle?
Don't have anything to back it up. One day, somebody
Yeah,
gets
she
somebody
talks
to-
about it way too casually. Like,
There's a God.
oh, the meat grinder. Oh, that old
She has
thing.
6 cents to it.
There are like 50 ways he could have been.
Yeah, we heard all the stories.
1,000 Ways to Die. That's why they made that show.
Because of Don. Because of fucking Carol Baskin.
Sometimes legally, you can't.
It started out, how do you think Carol killed her husband? And they had to make a show about it.
Yeah.
Anybody could be a suspect. Now, having said that, clearly the most information that we're going to get are the people that were closest to Don.
Those
So
masks.
that's where we've looked.
My aunt used to have a
And
bunch of
Queen
masks on her wall like
was
that.
probably the closest person
It's
alive
really
to Don
creepy.
Lewis. She
Is that
watched
why
out
you're
for
like
his
that?
best interest. He watched her
No.
back.
Don trusted Ann with every penny he had. He would have been lost without her.
I cooperated in every
She killed
form
him.
of the fashion that they wanted me to cooperate.
She's a murderer, guys.
I think it was the main character.
I think she's the killer.
In any investigation like
History
this,
will vindicate
you go
Are you
to-
just gonna say that about every person that comes on
or the
screen?
wife,
No.
whatever
It was
close family
it was
member
the assistant.
that is still surviving or still around that you can interview.
Like Selena
Carol's brother
style?
was
That's my oh yeah. Yolanda.
I think
Yolanda
he
Saldivar.
some sort of, well, you know, that's my sister.
I didn't even watch Selena, by the way.
I don't know what happened.
You've never watched Selena?
I've seen bits and pieces, but I know because
But you'll watch random dumbass movies, but you won't watch a classic like Selena.
I don't think that there was collusion there.
same with La Bamba. I've only seen like I think maybe a 40-minute chunk. A little bit
You're
at the beginning.
50. Get out of my house.
Gosh, by the time I was 15, he would have been like
Stick goes and stops alive and leaves.
Never to be heard of again. There's no episode 4.
It's funny, he grew up to be insurance deputy, which was the last thing I ever thought my brother would grow up to be, because he was so shy.
The day that Don went missing, the investigation indicated Carol had left Wildlife on Easy Street to drive to a nearby store named Albertsons to pick up some milk byproducts for the cats. This is at 3 o'clock in the morning. Her car broke down and Carol ran into her brother, who was accompanied by another deputy.
Oh, he just happens to be a police officer who saw her
back to her home
on the night.
After that, Carol indicated the last time that she saw her husband was just several hours later, and he was never seen again. And I don't know, but I would have hoped that the detective
Fuck,
would
she
have
had
pursued
this
that
all
and made sure
fucking
that
planted
there was
tea.
nothing out of
Psychopath.
the ordinary about that.
Maybe if you have a sheriff that's in there that's saying, you know, hey, this guy's kind of crazy and, you know, dementia. And
Do you guys think Carol is evil?
And, you know, maybe the sheriff's probably
Let us know
feet at that point.
in
and
the
be like,
comments.
"Oh, you know, let's just wait and see where it goes."
In her family, there just wasn't a lot of love.
Swipe better.
I know her father, Carol's father, Vernon, could not stand.
Ashley says the way she talks about how
That's
she
why I
did
said
use a
that.
meat grinder.
Carol's
So
dad, Vernon, come and built cages
true.
with me.
It's true. He nuts.
He definitely had his daughter's back.
I just felt like Carol did something and they needed to protect her and get the money. Let's get the money.
After Dawn disappeared, Carolyn Vernon, her dad, had asked me, Kenny, we need to get something from the office. And like I say, I did this kind of stuff for Don Lewis for years. When he needed something done, I would just go do it for him.
I got a phone call stating that the office alarm had gone off.
Yeah.
And Carol was there.
I already addressed it. I don't know why you have to put it in
Cut the
typing.
locks on the gate. Cut the locks
What's the
on
point of being on the line?
Cut the power to the trailer, cut the water, cut the sewer. The cops come because the alarm went off. Ann McQueen come up because that's her office, you know what I mean? She's been here for years.
There were 2 wills and there were 2 power of attorneys in my office, in a box underneath my desk.
But whatever paperwork or whatever they needed, there was nothing that the cops could do to stop the wife taking anything.
The will and the power of attorney, they were all taken out of the office that day.
Oh boy.
I was executor for both of their wills. I was the power of attorney for both of them.
Who was the power of attorney on the new documents Carol produced?
Not me.
Not me?
That new power of attorney gave her control over
Come
his
over
estate.
here.
Yeah.
But she prepared his power of attorney.
Thought you didn't
Another
drink coffee?
person would put upon my dad,
It's
you
the
know,
apocalypse. Nobody
for
drinks
sentence
anymore.
on my disappearance.
Isn't it suspicious that the power of attorney says upon our disappearance? Is that normal verbiage?
I have, in 37 years, never seen it say, or disappearance. Never have. In that respect, this is terribly unusual. I don't know who anticipates, everybody anticipates your death, but who in the world anticipates disappearance?
Carol Baskin.
And how did Carol behave in the aftermath of his disappearance?
After Don disappeared, Carol and her family got rid of everybody that worked for Don. They got rid of everything that he owned.
There was a note pinned to the refrigerator door. It said, "Never speak that man's name again in this house." Do you remember that? Donna telling us that?
I remember that very well.
Yeah.
But then what about all of Don's assets? Not the insurance policy, but
I had nothing to do with that.
all his real estate, all of his holdings.
All went under his will, didn't it?
The will wouldn't come into play because if you disappear, you can't do anything for 5 years. And so Carol had him declared legally dead 5 years and 1 day after he disappeared.
And here's the latest on the case. A judge has just declared Lewis dead since he's been missing 5 years. But Hillsborough County Sheriff's deputies say they will keep the case open until they have proof.
A lot of things happened during those 5 years. A lot of things were moved around.
She took out a lot of good things for herself and putting bad things in their accounts.
We ended up with all the yucky stuff.
She was taking property out of Don's name and our names and putting it in her name.
I was the other woman for years after the kids came back and they said that the mother didn't get a fair settlement and they tried to take him back to court, get more money out of him. That's when he disowned him. And so he said to nullify their trust, but I didn't because I felt like those are his kids and someday he's going to feel differently. So I left it in place.
So what's the theory that makes the most sense?
Well, there's no proof. I feel the one that would benefit the most from something happening to my father is Carol.
She knows.
You've got to look at it in the eyes of the law. I mean, I can sit here on this interview and tell you I killed 37 people a week. Well, that's okay. But you got to have the bodies. It doesn't count.
Oh, you got me.
His wife says the worst part is not knowing. No closure and no redemption for her.
There's no way that I can finally say, I couldn't do it. Can't do it.
Nothing has ever shown up on this tape whatsoever. It's more lonely.
So they're having to live under a cloud of suspicion.
It sure is.
Well, for the fun of it, let's see. Carol's bitching that she has this black cloud over her head of people thinking that she fed her husband to the tigers.
I mean, imagine that maybe she didn't have anything to do with it. Let's say she did love Don and she did mourn his death tremendously. To live with people constantly saying those things and making those accusations, you know, that can be hurtful and can change a person too.
She's so sweet.
I refuse to give her sympathy. She's fucking batshit
I
crazy.
remember the day his death certificate came. I opened the letter and I remember looking out the window, and then the next time I remembered anything, it was pitch black outside. It was just like I had just completely zoned out. I don't know where I went, but that was the closest thing that I had to a memorial.
And what about the money?
How do you know you didn't black out like that and
We
kill him?
definitely did not end up.
Cause she remembers
With,
that night. She was with her
I
brother,
say it
the
probably
police officer.
She remembers every single second and minute of that day.
Only 10% of his
Specifically.
Specific.
And where did the rest go?
Carol.
Carol got it all. She goddamn got it all.
Getting rich, and it is an exact science. The ownership of money and property comes from doing things in a certain way. Those who do things in a certain way, whether on purpose or accidentally, get rich.
So she accidentally.
Relative to most animal
His hand slipped
people,
into the meat grinder.
I would characterize her as reasonably
She
rational.
just kept going.
Look at how ugly her living room
We
is.
met on November 1st in 2002. On November 1st, 2004, we got married.
Would you marry a murderer?
Life is going to be to make this one.
That's today's question, guys.
Would you marry a murderer? Look at it! Oh my god.
I'd love to be able to attend a funeral, see a headstone. I would like closure.
What about justice?
That would be nice, but I've never been a greedy person. We all feel that Carol knows more than what she's telling me.
Oh god, I can't wait for
There's
there to be a
nothing that I really
development
want
like
to
6
say
months
to
from now.
any of these people.
From this.
I know that the only reason that they are saying the things that they're saying is because they see me as a threat to their livelihood and to their ego. And with that being their driving motivation, there's nothing I'm going to say or do that's going to change that.
That's a good outlook to have though. Like if she didn't kill him, a great outlook. If she
We
did,
never felt that it was
psychopath.
investigated well enough. They did say Carol was the prime suspect at the time, but until, like you said, until someone comes forward.
I cannot tell you that we have zeroed in on any particular suspect. I'd be remiss if I said that. There is absolutely no physical evidence at this point in time that would point at one particular individual.
When we started to speak out, we did People's Magazine. Inside Edition came to talk to us, and hard copy, I believe, wanted to. That's when we got the thing from Carol to stop. I have the money, you do not, and if you continue talking, I will take everything away from you and your family. That's why we had it spoken out.
Because you're afraid of Carol Baskin.
Oh, yes, I am. I am.
Dun dun dun.
I'm taking Carol on because everyone else is scared too.
my hero.
Well,
Wow.
that was amazing, you guys. I love it.
I like that it's press back.
I just pressed stop. I like that it's what? What do you like?
That it's like a documentary that's getting every angle instead of just focusing on.
That's what a documentary is supposed to do.
I know, but not a lot of documentaries
Go to
do
episode
that
4.
anymore.
Go read what episode 4 is called.
It's in a start.
Ale? No. Go to
See?
episodes and more.
It's right there, playing with fire.
Okay, but can you go to the episode guide? I want to see what the.
No, it'll start playing the episode. See, it
We
does
have
shit
an
like
opportunity
this.
to move our family to a more peaceful
Mute it.
place.
Turned it off.
All right, guys, that was episode 3, The Secret. Tell us what you thought. Leave your comments, and we'll see you next time we record. Bye.
What does that mean? We haven't decided if it's tomorrow or not?
Yes.